And I had to be the bigger person and stop and breathe. And I'd sometimes say to her, you didn't give me my joy, and you're not going to take it away. And I'd literally turn around and walk out of the room.
Have you seen what that looks like, you know, where an adult has a different experience at home, how they were raised? And how would you find moments for them to find that self-awareness? Because that is, it seems like self-awareness is the beginning of it all.
It is, and I mean, you have to just do it, and you have to measure and weigh what's most important. And I know that there's times that she can remember, you know, I would be in a space where, you know, and don't get it twisted, this was not an easy thing to do. And you know, mother with mother and daughter, and you know, two women, and you know. Attitudes and personalities, and you know, there were times, or a lot of times. So what I'm trying to say is, I had to be the bigger person as the adult in the situation. And if she and I are in the middle of a conversation or in the middle of a situation that's not happening, that's going down a negative path, you know, yes, I could invoke at any time my authority in the situation. But after reading Dr. Shabari's book and understanding that we're individual souls, I didn't want to put her in that space. And that's how I was raised. I was raised with the mindset of, you know, do as I say, not as I do. So I made the conscious decision to break a generational curse with this. And it took work. So going back to what I was saying, there's times when we were in the middle of a situation and I had to be the bigger person and stop and breathe. And I'd sometimes say to her, you didn't give me my joy, and you're not going to take it away. And I'd literally turn around and walk out of the room. Because it took me needing to grow and understand that she could be going through something right now. She could have had a hard day. It could be hormones, whatever this situation is, however she's communicating with you, you know, even though you may want to pop her or do whatever it is, based on how I was raised, not that I support child abuse. But you know,
I done got a couple poppins though, so you know what I'm saying. I can't necessarily say all poppins is child abuse.
Right. I just wanted to make that disclaimer. But you know, from a serious side, I wanted to be able to teach, and if it meant teaching her how to communicate or how to communicate better, then I have to allow her to grow through the situation, allow us to both deal with it and cool off, and then come back to it and see how can we be better the next time. So it's a lot of trial and error. Yeah,
and you mentioned a phrase that gets recycled a lot, generational curses. And, you know, we have generational wealth and we have generational curses. And I feel like for both, people look at it as something that's very one-dimensional, and it's like one thing, but it's so compartmental that it rarely shows itself. And oftentimes we'll find ourselves in a generational curse and not even know it. Right. As coaches, what are some generational curses or some trends of curses that you have seen amongst your community and amongst your students that you have had to identify and make them aware of, if any, have stuck out? Because this is context for the audience, right? Because, like I said, it's hidden, you know, a lot of times.
I'd say for me, it's mindset. It's mindset and the belief that no matter your circumstance or what you went through, you can have whatever you want out of life. Like it's really that simple. You know, there's a lot of little things that we can add to that, and oftentimes we build and make it more complex than what it really is. But we're living in a cage of less than based on our belief system. And our belief system is if we grew up without enough, and rather that's food or communication or family or dollars, whatever that is, then we think that this is us, this is who we are, and this is the life that we live. So it's just as simple as knowing and understanding that your past doesn't have to be your future. Period.
So I'm hearing like some scarce mindset.
Correct.
Got you. Would you say the same, or some others that stuck out to you?
Yes, of course, the same. I'd also say selfishness isn't valued enough. And I think that, you know, I find that regardless of where the client is or anybody that I talk to, friends, whatever, it's always that caring of what the parent would think, what friends would think, what my community would think. So on that level, when I say selfishness, but also just being able to, I think watching her say, you didn't give me my joy, so you can't take it. Watching her be selfish.
That's a level
and
of
watching that was okay. Like watching how selfishness actually led to selflessness. Watching how selfishness in yourself or in her led to the freedom of me. Because when you are selfish and you're focused inward, you can allow everybody to be who they are and everybody to be them. So yeah, selfishness really isn't valued in a sense of like really putting me first. A lot of times, especially Black women that we deal with as far as clients, will put everybody else first. They have this need to literally put everybody in their life before them. And I'm not really sure where that comes from. But being able
Cattle
to
slavery.
see, so I think that's a big one, and when they start to make that shift and really value selfishness, that could be as simple as a morning routine in the morning. Like, no, if I don't meditate, I can't talk to you, I can't answer an email, I can't do anything for you. If I don't do any type of self-care and fill my own cup up, I can't help you and I can't fill yours up. So when they make that shift, I see crazy changes happen in their life.
That's a good point. I commend you for identifying that and bringing it to the forefront. Because when I think of selfishness, I imagine an exercise of, you know, taking off my hat and say it's a leak, right? And there's water flowing and I'm just trying to catch all the water. And instead of putting it in my cup, I'm like spraying it out and just trying to, but doing it like this, I'm not even hitting the other cups. I'm not filling the other cups. I'm just, you get a drop, they get a drop over here. And then now we all have halfway full cups and my cup is most likely empty, collecting dust. And that doesn't do anyone any good. But if you're a little bit selfish or you have a nice balance of selfishness, right? You're able to collect all that water that's flowing, pour it in your cup, and then you'll notice it start to flow into the other cups around you as well, just from having that, like Oprah like to say, right? Like, my cup spilleth over, right? Just having that cup full and spilling over into others, like you said, is how you're able to allow people to be themselves. But when you collecting dust and you see other people getting some water, you kind of mad and spiteful towards people just for being themselves because they're happy and you not, right? Has that, with selfishness, what does that look like practically though? Like what is a healthy way to practice selfishness, and where do you draw the line to where selfishness becomes more of a toxic trait?
Oh, that's